It all began with a tweet. President Trump set his sights on China and its exports. He proposed hefty tariffs, 25%. The tech world, especially Apple, was on edge. Cupertino buzzed with anxiety as news alerts hit. Tariffs could spike prices for iPhones, MacBooks, and Apple Watches. This was a direct blow to both Apple and consumers. Businesses despise uncertainty. It's their kryptonite. Apple, a global trade titan, felt the tremor. The world watched, waiting for Apple's move. This wasn't a minor hiccup, it was a potential earthquake. Their global supply chain, heavily reliant on China, was at risk. The threat felt personal and direct. Could Apple, the symbol of American innovation, survive a trade war? The questions were huge and the stakes even higher. The air was thick with uncertainty. Apple products say designed by Apple in California. But then there's the other bit, assembled in China. Most of Apple's gadgets were put together there, millions of iPhones, iPads, MacBooks. This reliance was Apple's superpower and its vulnerability. Suddenly, that assembled in China label looked like a target. If tariffs hit, Apple faced a nasty choice. Eat the cost or pass it to consumers. Neither option sounded good. Wall Street started to get very nervous. Foxconn City, a key assembler, is practically a metropolis. Moving that kind of operation? It's not like packing a suitcase. It takes years, billions of dollars, new skills. Apple couldn't just flip a switch and build iPhones in Nebraska overnight. The threat was real. It wasn't just about a few components, it was about the core of Apple's manufacturing might, the engine room of their global empire. If Trump truly slammed down that 25% hammer, the carefully built Apple machine would sputter, perhaps even stall. The company needed a plan, and fast. The dragon had them by the tail, so to speak. The threat was real, very real. Apple needed a plan, and fast. Steve Jobs was a showman. Tim Cook? He's different, quieter, more methodical. He's an operations guy, a master of supply chains, and a surprisingly skilled diplomat. When the tariff storm hit, Cook didn't panic publicly. He didn't fire off angry tweets. He chose a different path engagement. Cook knew yelling wouldn't help. He understood the power of a quiet conversation, especially with the most powerful person on earth. His strategy was simple. Get in the room, talk to President Trump, explain Apple's side, show him what these tariffs could mean, not just for Apple, but for America, for American jobs, for American consumers. This was a high-stakes game. One wrong move, and things could get worse. Cook had to be persuasive, patient, persistent. He had to appeal to Trump's business sense and perhaps his ego, just a little. It was a delicate dance, like trying to defuse a bomb while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. While other tech CEOs grumbled or stayed silent, Cook decided to lean in. He believed in the power of direct communication. He had a story to tell, an American success story. Apple employed tens of thousands in the US. Its App Store fueled a whole economy. Tariffs would hurt that badly. Cook needed to make Trump see this clearly. So Tim Cook went to Washington often. He met with President Trump several times. They had dinners, phone calls. Cook explained Apple's business patiently. He talked about jobs, American jobs, design jobs in California, retail jobs across the country, software developers building apps. He painted a picture of Apple as a national champion. Trump famously once called him Tim Apple, a slip of the tongue perhaps, or a power move. Cook took it in stride, reportedly even changing his Twitter name briefly. Humor can be a useful tool in tense situations. The goal was to build a relationship, a line of communication, to make Trump understand that Apple wasn't the enemy. It was an American company caught in the crossfire, a company that could be a partner. Cook argued that tariffs on Apple products would backfire. They wouldn't just hurt Apple, they would hurt American consumers, making beloved gadgets more expensive. They might even help Apple's competitors more, companies from South Korea, for example. Did the president want that? Cook likely asked. It was a compelling argument grounded in reality. The strategy was clear. Avoid public confrontation. Engage privately, consistently, persuasively. Cook didn't just talk about problems, he talked about contributions. Apple's investments in the US, its innovation. This nuanced approach was classic Cook, calm, collected, and incredibly focused. The tariff situation was a minefield. Cook had to navigate it with extreme care. On one side, the US government and its demands. President Trump wanted manufacturing back in America. He wanted to look tough on China. Apple, with its massive China operations, was an easy symbol. Cook had to show respect and understanding, even while disagreeing with the policy. On the other side, China, Apple's manufacturing hub and a huge market. Beijing wasn't happy about the trade war either. Apple couldn't afford to alienate the Chinese government or its Chinese customers. Any move to rapidly shift production out of China could be seen as a betrayal or just impractical. It was a geopolitical balancing act of the highest order. Then there were the shareholders. They worried about profits, about uncertainty. Apple's stock price often wobbled with every tariff tweet. Cook had to reassure them, show them he had a plan, that he was in control. He also had to consider Apple's image. Would consumers blame Apple for higher prices, or would they understand the tariff pressure? Public relations was a constant concern, so Apple started exploring options, quietly. Could some assembly move to other countries? Vietnam? India? They looked into it. Small steps were taken. So what actually happened with that scary 25% tariff? Did it hit every iPhone, every Mac, every watch? Not exactly. Some Apple products did get hit by tariffs. Other key products, like the iPhone and laptops, got a reprieve. Tim Cook's lobbying seemed to be paying off. Apple applied for exemptions. Sometimes they got the exemptions. Sometimes they didn't. Why did Apple get some breaks? Was it Cook's relationship with Trump? Probably a bit of both. And good old-fashioned lobbying. Apple managed to navigate the worst of it. The tariff bomb didn't explode with full force on Apple's main products. Did Trump's tariff bluff bomb? It wasn't a total failure for Trump, nor a complete win for Apple. Apple avoided the worst. Cook shielded Apple from crippling tariffs. The iPhone largely escaped tariffs, a win for Cook's strategy. Quiet engagement proved effective. For Trump, results were mixed. Manufacturing didn't return to the US. Economists still debate the impact. Apple's exemptions showed tariff limits. The bluff was called. Lessons learned. The tussle between Trump and Apple wasn't just a business story, it was a story about power. The power of a government to change the rules and the power of a global corporation to adapt. Even the biggest companies are not immune to politics. National interests and global business often collide, and when they do, things get messy. Tim Cook's handling of the tariff crisis was remarkable. He used facts, persuasion, and patience. He protected Apple's core interests without burning bridges with Washington or Beijing. It solidified his reputation as a shrewd, effective leader. Government policies can create huge waves. Businesses need to be agile and politically savvy. Tim Cook made sure Apple thrived, tariffs or not.